The girl just like blew up, and I was like, see, they're eating my fish and broccoli and stuff, and I was like, whoa. I was like, what's going on here?
Because in that first phase, you guys are both pretending.
Yeah.
You're just pretending. You're like, I am so perfect. I'm going to just be in this love bubble with you all the time for the rest of our lives. How did you learn how to fight? How did you learn how to communicate? We learned all these things before the age of 7.
Like, if I can't commit to go to the gym, and I can't commit to my to this or commit to that, how can I commit to someone else and give them my full attention and my full love when I can't even do it for myself?
That's your masculine discipline coming through. And I love that. It's beautiful.
Eri Kardos, welcome to Mind Soak. I'm just going to jump straight into it with, you're going to be able to give yourself a better introduction than I can, I think, because of all your accolades. So if you can just give us a bit of a run through of, like where you came from, what you've done to get to where you are, and we'll elaborate on that through the podcast.
Sure. Sounds great. Just a high level, I would say I've been a relationship geek my whole life. My parents were teaching marriage classes in our church growing up. And then I went on to study sexual psychology in undergrad. And I decided I needed to do something more professional or something. I don't know. But I ended up getting my MBA in international business and then going into a special program for leadership development at Amazon.com. And when I was there, it was such an amazing journey because I found that as I was working with different leaders, it didn't matter what their backgrounds were academically or career-wise. There was a sense of loneliness. Whether they were single or they were in partnership, there was loneliness. Like, things just weren't going as they had hoped or planned or wanted around love and relationships. And I had already become a certified coach at that time, and I just asked, hey, can I have your consent to coach you on the whole person? And next thing I know, I'm watching these leaders come to work with more focus and drive and clarity, and they're bringing this with them into their teams, and there's more happiness, and people are getting stuff done faster. I'm like, what is happening? This is so, I'm like, okay, so when I talk about matters of the bedroom is changing things in the boardroom, this is hot. And I want to do this way more. So soon I was being referred out to other folks, and then by day I was doing leadership development at Amazon. By night, I'm coaching executives at Google, Facebook, Amazon, Relativity, SpaceX, Hollywood actors. I'm like, this is amazing. This is like everybody wants to learn these things that we didn't learn as kids around how do we have a healthy relationship? How do we communicate well? How do we be with our traumas? How do we ask for what we want? How do we have healthy boundaries? And when we have those, it just has a ripple effect into our careers and our families and our communities. I'm like, this is awesome. I want to do this all the time. So I quit my job at Amazon, started traveling the world, speaking and teaching this, wrote a best-selling book, and started my own company called Relearn Love. And about a little over a month ago, my TEDx talk was released.
Amazing.
So it's been a journey.
Yeah.
It's been a journey.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. So one of the reasons I reached out to you is because, like I reached out to you and said, I actually overheard a conversation of someone. I was sitting at a restaurant, and these tables are quite close together. They're very intimate. Like, we're further away this way than I was.
Wow.
This way to the...
So you could hear everything.
Yeah, it's very, very, very personal. And if anyone knows where I'm talking about in Bali, they'll probably guess of how close the tables are. But this woman was talking to one of her friends about her relationship. And the European lady sitting on one side was like, oh, I've been in this relationship for 12 months. I'm not sure where it's going. I'm not sure how deep and all this stuff. She's like, I've explained to him what I want and what I need and all this type of stuff. And then the other girl just like blew up. And I was like, see, they're eating my fish and broccoli and stuff. And I was like, whoa. I was like, what's going on here? And she was like, if you've told him exactly what you want, and all this type of stuff, and he's not doing that, and you're not in love, like fully in love after X amount of time, she's like, it's not worth it. And she's like, in all of my relationships, I immediately tell them that I want you, I don't need you. So all this type of stuff. And that is when I was like, oh, I need to figure this out, because her saying those words, I don't know, it just absolutely triggered me. It like took everything in my power to not say anything, and I'm not sure what I would have said. But my initial thought when she was saying, I chose to want you in my life, not I need you in my life, and I was just kind of like, isn't that not the purpose? Like, isn't the whole purpose to that when you're in love with someone and when you need someone, like, or yeah, when you're with someone is to need them. They make your life better, or like you do things together. And, you know, I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, if you're dating, it might be like, oh yeah, I want to see you type of thing. But when you kind of progress past those few levels, my mind goes to it changes from a want to a need. And she was giving this advice, which I thought was like almost poisonous. So
what does that bring up in you? This idea, like, what does need mean to you? Like, how are you interpreting that word?
Need in the sense of a relationship, to me, I guess, is you just make my life better. And without you being there, like, or when I'm not, I've said like 200 times, when, I'm just trying to think of the best way to explain this in my own words. The need to me is that I need you in my life because you make my life better. And it's a want, but like I said, I think it turns into a need once you get past that point. At the start, yes, you want it, but eventually it grows into a need. It's like, I need to keep this in my life, maybe more than letting it go. Does that make sense?
I'm tracking you, I think.
Yeah.
So let me make sure. So I think, okay, a couple of things. One, I hear you and your definitions make so much sense.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of nuance. That's why I asked, what does it mean to you?
Yeah.
Like, even when somebody says like, oh, I want to support you in our relationship, support can look so many different ways.
Yeah.
So many different ways. So I think at the heart of it, what you're getting to is so, like, I think it's going to resonate with most people. Like,
Yeah, okay.
I don't want it to just be like something we're not committed to, we're not showing up for.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm wondering, and I don't know this woman's perspective or what she's been through or what she really meant.
It seemed like she'd been hurt before, because
Yeah.
she was saying it with a lot of
A
conviction.
lot of gusto.
Yeah,
She was
there
like,
was a lot of conviction in there, and I was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to love and relationships, most of the things we're really going after are based on a lot of our traumas and our pains and things we're adverse to. It's like traumas and pains, right? So who knows what's there? But in terms of other perspectives, when I first heard what you said, what I could see is, oh, maybe she's thinking that she doesn't want to become codependent. She doesn't want that level of need where it's like toxic or dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? So her wanting to be in a relationship but not needing it could be a very healthy thing. Could be.
Yeah.
And I think that if you two could find out what you both had meant, you might be more on the same page than you think.
Yeah, gotcha.
'Cause I think what you're saying is, I really want to create something in a relationship that's going to be powerful, that we have commitment to, that we know what we're doing together, we agree on it, we're excited by it, we want to keep showing up and leaning in even when it's hard. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. That might be exactly what she was saying too,
Yeah.
but without this like attachment that's an icky way and toxic, and we're fighting, and like if I want to go to my friend's house for dinner, you're not going to freak out on me, right? Like, who knows extremes?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think we love to freak out and go to extremes in our heads, all of us.
Yeah, don't we?
Yeah. My husband is Indian, and so I always joke that we have like this, go to the Bollywood drama scene in our heads the second something triggers us. So I love that you got triggered.
Yeah.
And that you're like, how do I use this trigger to bring it into this podcast and other people's lives and start thinking about it a different way?
Yeah, it was one of those things for me where, like, I haven't had the best run of relationships or anything either. So that was another reason, because I've also been having conversations with friends, and there's like things happening with friends at the moment that I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, a lot of it's just super confusing for people these days, I think. And, just going back to what you were saying about like the different perspectives, and we might have meant the same thing, but just have different ways of saying it or perceiving it. I feel like in Western worlds, and like me coming from Australia's very hard to live in, because you can't just have like the old kind of one person at home parenting, or like the biblical sense of man work, woman stays at home, or anything like that. Like, it's super hard to be able to do that, probably in a lot of places now, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it has to, there's like both people have got to work to support the household. Otherwise you've got to be someone's got to be the breadwinner and be like super successful.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it's the man or the woman or whoever, but
there's that pressure. There's
just
financial pressure.
Yeah, there's that financial pressure, and I think that's everywhere at the moment. So I think maybe that could come into play a little bit as well with it.
I mean, we have all these family of origin stories too, of like, when I'm working with couples, I'm looking at, okay, where did you learn about love? What was modeled for you? Did you grow up in a one-parent household, two-parent? Was it, did they get divorced? Are they still together? Do you think they would be happier if they got a divorce? There's a lot of complexity here. How did you learn how to handle finances? How did you learn how to fight? How did you learn how to communicate? We learned all these things before the age of 7.
Yeah.
And yet we think that we know what's going on. And chances are our parents weren't perfect, even though they did their best, right? But they were repeating the tools that they learned from their parents. And a lot of the times it's just intergenerational trauma and bad habits passed down. And then we watch these Disney movies and we see, all we have to do is find our other half, or our Prince or Princess Charming. We ride off into the suns. It'll be so easy.
Yeah.
And we learn that it's not like that. And from that place, it's a very different world, and we have to make a choice to up-level and learn a new game. And I think it's really weird, because what you learned is what you learned. And yet there's this social pressure for you not to learn how to do love or relationships well. Like, do you play any sports?
Oh, yeah, used to play like Australian football.
Australian football,
yeah.
Yes. So Australian football, like, if you wanted to get really good and you told me, Eri, I'm hiring a coach, I would say, that's awesome. Of course you are, Sam. You're going to learn how to play better. You're going to get faster. You're going to avoid injury. And you'll learn from all of their mistakes. It's going to be great. And then if you told me, Eri, I'm going to start a new podcast business, and I hired a business coach, I'm like, sweet. Of course you did.
Yeah.
I would say, of course you did. You're going to learn how to make money faster. You're going to build your audience faster. You're going to have greater impact. It's going to be awesome. And then if you say, Eri, I'm thinking about hiring a therapist or a relationship coach, most people would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Things must be really screwed up.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so sorry.
I never thought of it like that. But yeah. That.
But why? Why is it any different?
Yeah, true.
And you don't know how to do it. And I ask this question to thousands of people all over the world. And I just ask everybody who's listening, tune in. How many happy, healthy, long-term couples do you personally know? And I don't care how you define it. What is happy to you? What is healthy to you? What is long-term to you? And the answer 90% of the time or more is between 0 and 3 couples total. 0 and 3 couples total in their lives.
Yeah, that's wild, isn't it?
It's wild. So, okay, we don't know many people who are doing the thing well. And we get shamed if we go out and try to learn it. But nobody learned it. So isn't that a little screwed up?
Yeah, because it's not... I resonate with that really, really hard. I've actually explained to people recently that I believe love is a skill.
Yes.
It's not a feeling. It's more of a skill.
It may begin as a feeling, but it is definitely a skill.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill, because you have to learn to love someone. Like, you have to learn to be in love with their flaws, and you have to learn to be okay with their flaws. And can I put up with these things annoying the shit out of me for the rest of my life, or like whatever it may be?
Yeah.
And like you said, learn how to fight, learn how to, are
have
you gonna
boundaries?
Yeah, are you gonna fight each other, and is it gonna be get to the extent where it's abusive, or is it just going to be like, hey, let's sit down and have a chat, and or let's go for a walk, and we're not allowed to come home until we sort it out, or something like that. Like, different ways of dealing with things and figuring it out for yourselves and stuff.
Exactly. So, I mean, even in our family, we fight in front of our children, and we make it a point to, because where else are they going to learn how to?
Yeah, exactly.
But we know how to not have like knockout fights or hurt the other person, verbally, emotionally, right? So. And we know that if we just disappear into another room and come back and everything's happy, they learned nothing.
Yeah, true.
So how do we have our disagreements and have these communication skills in front of our kids so that they then get to use that and pick up on it, right?
Yeah. That's such a powerful thing, actually, like doing it in front of your children, because, like, not that my mum and dad used to fight all the time or anything like that, but from what I can kind of remember, it was always like exactly what you said. It was kind of like behind a closed door, or they'd like, oh, we don't need this, the kids don't need to see us having a blue, or like whatever's going on. And I assume that like most people's in that kind of, who grew up within like 90s, early 2000s, that's probably how it happened. It was just like a big blow up out the back or something, and then come back and everything's happy days, or two people are angry at each other and no one knows why. And then that sense of fear comes in because you don't know what's happening.
Right.
Like, and I feel like as a child or even as a teenager or something, Like
you know something's off.
You know something's off, but you can sense it. You can feel it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And parents want to pretend like they don't, like their kids don't feel it. Like, we're hiding it from the kids. We're staying together for the kids. I'm like, your kids know.
Yeah.
Your kids know when you're making those decisions, right? And when there is that tension. And so I think a lot about being in a healthy relationship is learning how to be in. There's 3 phases of a relationship. There's harmony, disharmony, and repair. And most of us, we just dream about harmony, and that's really nice. But even when we're in harmony, most of us don't know how to sustain it because we don't practice those emotions. We don't practice feeling peaceful and happy. We're constantly practicing anxiety and stress and fear about the future, right?
Yeah.
And so we may be happy for this one like part of the date, and then some little story comes into our head and trips us up. And it could be just on a normal date, like first date even. You're like, oh, this is amazing. I'm loving this first date. And then you have one little story creep in about, oh, did she look at me in a weird way? And like my mom, or maybe I'm not good enough right now. Like whatever your stories may be, you start to believe that story and we spin out and we go back from harmony now into disharmony. And there's a little bit of tension. And then, or maybe there's a lot of tension, especially if you've been in a long-term relationship or even more than 6 months relationship. And now we have to figure out how do we move from disharmony into repair as quickly as possible so we can get back into harmony.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right? But we didn't learn the skills for repair, most people. And this is what's really critical. And even coming back to where we all began with this of like commitment and what does it mean to be in relationships and like what is the meaning we're putting on things, I think this is really important to loop back to of just saying we didn't learn this. We didn't learn how to ask, oh, hold on, pause. What does that mean to you? And what do you really want? And what does it mean to me? And how do I be with my emotions right now? And how do I allow my fears to be there but not control me?
Yeah, it's crazy now. Like now that you've just explained all that, and me thinking like, oh, we haven't learned all this. Like maybe I shouldn't be so hard on myself, type of thing. And I hope everyone else.
It's not your fault.
Yeah. I know what you mean. And it's like not your parents' fault either. It's not.
No.
It's technically it's not anyone's fault. It
would have been great if the school system taught us.
I was literally just about to say, let's blame the schools.
Let's blame them.
Yeah, but
But this is something also to just share. Sorry.
No, go.
Okay. We also have so much more data now than we ever have in history around what love and relationships is and what works and what doesn't. You know, it's no longer a qualitative subject. It's a quantitative subject. We know, like the Gottman Institute can tell with 92% accuracy if a couple will stay together long term just by listening to them speak to each other for a few minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. And we know what we have to teach children so that they grow up to have healthy long-term relationships. We have exact recipes. We know what you need to learn. People just hold these beliefs of, number one, it's a fluffy subject, so you can't really learn it, which is BS.
Yeah.
Or there's that shaming, that cultural shaming of, I should be good at this. And then we're holding on to the shame of like, gosh, I should be good at it, so I can't go get help. Or I can't really open up to my friends about it. But I've talked to thousands and thousands of people at this point, and we're all carrying the same stories. We're all carrying the same, I'm not good enough, or I'm too much, or, you know, they're going to leave me. We have all these core wounds that are impacting us every day. And honestly, they're impacting your finances. They're impacting your career. They're impacting your connection with your children. They're impacting everything around you because you didn't learn these crucial things that begin with matters of the heart, but have a ripple effect into everything. So I've done business coaching as well, as if you want to watch your business grow, learn how to have a more complete understanding of love. Learn how to know what your desires are and how to ask for them. Know how to have healthy boundaries. Know how to listen really well. Know how to ask for what you want in a way that's going to be received really well. And learn how to navigate crucial conversations. You learn how to do these things in the bedroom. It's going to be a breeze when you take it out into the real world.
Yeah, I definitely really like that. The little quotation that you've got, or the little mantra of like boardroom to bedroom or bedroom to boardroom type of thing. I actually think that's really cool because that kind of makes sense. But I just want to go back to, you were talking about commitment, and I feel like that's a huge thing in today's society, especially because like relationships now people are getting married much less, but also much later in life as well. Like I know everyone, or all my parents' friends and all that type of stuff, they're all kind of within the realm of 21 to 28 type of thing, they're married with kids already.
Yes.
And now, like, I'm 33, single, and most of my friends are around 28 to 35. Single.
Yep.
No kids or anything like that. Or some do have kids, but like some don't.
Some do, but the majority probably don't.
Yeah, or they're single parents in aspects as well. And there are people out there that, you know, bless, they're having a great relationship, had kids together, all that type of stuff. Like, actually, lots of my friends back home in little country town, they're all together. They're all got kids and stuff like that.
It's a very cultural thing, I think. But in general, I see what you're saying, and that a lot of the people, especially nomads, especially entrepreneurs, especially I would say, if you were in the United States, the people on the coasts and like the more liberal folks, they're gonna be trending more towards later marriage or later partnerships, whatever that looks like, and then later kids. And then maybe not even be able to have kids because everything's later, right? So there's all this change in the dynamics of things, and divorce is at an all-time high globally. So what does it mean to even be in a relationship is changing up, and there's so many different styles of relationships out there now. You know, we've got ethical non-monogamy showing up in different places, and even that has lots of different flavors underneath it. So it's like, what do people really want? And we're experimenting and getting curious, but a lot of things mean we're putting off this idea of the traditional commitment in marriage and kids until much, much, much later.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I'll give you my scenario, right? So I've said to a few women lately, like, I'm not looking for anything at the moment. For me, I'm not currently where I want to be mentally, physically, or entrepreneurship or business wise. And because I was dating someone and our schedules were a little bit different, and I found that I was prioritizing her over the things that I needed to, like my purpose, my routines, my, like, all this type of stuff. And I was feeling really, really good before that, like before we started dating. And when we started dating, I still felt really, really good, but it was confined. My happiness was confined in her. And then I realized that I wasn't doing any of this other stuff, and I wasn't actually progressing. And I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And it was no fault of hers. Like, she was a gorgeous, gorgeous girl, and, you know, whatever it was, but I was just like, I can't focus. Like, and I'm not sure if that's me being like, I'm love bombing this girl with I'm giving her my everything. Yeah. And I can't find a way because I haven't learnt how to divide my time or whatever it may be or something. I'm not sure.
Well, also biology's against you. I mean, love, we call it NRE, new relationship energy, it's made to be that way. It's made to be addictive, and it's made to, like, that first 3 to 6 months especially is supposed to just, like, pull you in and make sure you procreate. Like, the whole point of evolution is procreate, right?
Yeah.
So all of you is like, I can show up, I can do all of this, I'm Superman, right? Yeah. And then slowly those hormones start to wear off, and you're like, crap, where'd my purpose go? Where's my health going? I used to go to the gym every day, and now I'm going like once a week. What happened? Yeah. Right? So it makes sense that there's this, like, sobering period. But if we learn about this and we go in consciously of saying, like, okay, I want to be able to do it all. And I know that the first several months of love is really exciting and fun and intoxicating. How do we balance this and keep each other in check? Because you can have it all. It's the life of and, we call it A&D. Life of and instead of the ors, but you really have to go into it with open communication and really clear agreements together.
Yeah, because I think my trouble was, like you just say, like, clear eyes. I saw it happening, and it was exactly what you said. I think it was like, it would have been like 3 or 4 months, maybe a little bit longer for going into 5. It kind of led into 5 because I was like, I don't know how to deal with this. Should I break up with her? Should I not? Like, I was like, how? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Because I had no idea. And it was just kind of like, I was just like, well, all the stuff that I want to do, I was doing before. Right. So I was just like,
obviously it's this relationship. Let's just kill it off.
Yeah, literally. Like, let's just drop the guillotine and, like, just off with its head. Gone. See you later. Yes. And
there's another option just for next time this happens. You don't have to keep doing. And also, like, this is the point that you hit that point. Right? When NRE wears off, most people run. Most people end the relationship there, and they're like, okay, I just can't be in relationships, or I can't do long term, right? And that phase is the NRE is so fun. You know, it's like everything is sexy. There's no flaws. Like, it's just magical. If there's any problems, it's because of scheduling. But it's not them. And it's not me. It's the scheduling.
Yeah.
And then we start to sober up. And the chemicals literally start stopping. Like, they start cutting off in our body. And we start to, like, realize, oh, wait a minute. I'm me and you're you. And we have a relationship instead of us both being a love bubble. And we need to very consciously transition to MRE, the mature relationship energy. And this is where the long-term love is built. This is where the deep love and commitment is built. But it feels very different. So if you're used to like the honeymoon phase and you love the honeymoon phase and you just want to do that over and over again, great. But just be honest with the people you're with that like, I love honeymoon phases and we're going to have an awesome time together for a few months, and then we're going to transition and not be in relationship anymore. Just so you know. Are you good with that? Okay, great. As long as we're both consenting to ride in the waves, great.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do with how that impacts your career and your priorities and your purpose and your health? Because love will take away so much from that if you let it. But if we go into this consciously and say, okay, I know I get a little drunk on love.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can own it up front and say, here's what we're going to make our agreements around our schedule and how we're going to honor. We can be gym buddies, or we can, just say these are our date nights of the week, and this is what I need to keep in my schedule so that I am like functioning at my top. How can I support you in yours? How can you support me in mine? And we really get clear on that early on. That is going to set a super solid foundation for you guys moving into MRE and enjoying NRE still, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Like just having that clear communication of what's going to be happening and how you function and how you work and how the other person, if they don't want it or if you don't like what they have to say, then it's like, okay, well, this obviously isn't going to work, and just being mature about it, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm going to say being more authentic about it, because in that first phase, you guys are both pretending.
Yeah.
You're just pretending. You're like, I am so perfect. I'm going to just be in this love bubble with you all the time for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're perfect. We start to be authentic from the start and lay these agreements from the start, then your NRE can actually last longer because you are not getting a false display of or a false projection of who this person is, and they're not getting a false projection of you, and then they're going to feel so betrayed later on. How dare he go back to his career so much, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I get you.
Right? So it's like, how do we be authentic early on? And the only way we can do that is really to create a safe environment for both people to really be themselves, and that is so anti what we learned anywhere.
Yeah, for sure, isn't it? It's just like put on your best mask, and
and then feel really hurt later on that they're such a jerk and they're not who they said they were.
Yeah. That actually makes so much sense. I've never thought about it like that. But yeah, people's after they date for 3 or 6 months, their perception on the person that they're dating is like, oh, he's a narcissist, or she was a this or that.
She was way too emotional.
Yeah. Like there's always something, isn't it, that comes out of the woodwork.
Yeah, and chances are that story goes really well with what a parent modeled for them earlier on.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, now I see he was just like my dad.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we're going to call in somebody that reminds us of one of our parent figures almost all the time.
Yeah, right.
So being honest with yourself about that and saying, if I start dating Sam, there's probably something in Sam that's going to remind me of my dad when I was little. And if you start dating Eri, there's something in me that's going to remind you of your mom if you're a dude. Something.
Yeah.
And so being aware that we humans are super lazy and we want to feel emotions that we're used to. And if we grew up with decades of feeling the same way in our parent homes and our childhood homes, then when we get older, we're going to look for those similar emotions, even if we don't want them. Even if we're like, I never want to feel that way again. I'm not going to do what my parents did. A part of us is going to be looking for that.
Yeah, okay.
And then our partner that we attract, guess what? They can either be the poison for us and keep repeating the same crap from when we were younger and the same traumas, or they can be our medicine. And we can help each other heal those wounds that we had since childhood. And that's where the real magic comes in, and the real long-term relationships can be so juicy.
Yeah. How do you so I had a friend just recently was in a long-term relationship, and I think they might have checked out a long time previously but never changed anything because of like not wanting to hurt someone or whatever. How do you think, how do you navigate that type of scenario? Because like, say I feel like I'm a really lovely person and I care about your feelings.
Yeah.
And if we were dating and then I come to the point where it's like, I love her, but, and then it's like, I don't want to do this anymore, but I'm trying to save it. Like, you know, like what you said before about doing it for the kids or like whatever it is. How do you recognize that? And what do you think the best way for someone to be able to even just recognize it themselves? Like, because I feel like some people are in a little bit of denial, hoping that the person, you know what I mean? Like someone will change or something will happen, or I can't do it just yet because you've got to go for lunch tomorrow and you might be upset for going for lunch, or, you know, just random stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's as complex, but in general, if anybody's resonating as you're listening to this, this is really normal. This is really common. And it goes back to that whole idea that we started pretending right from the start, right? We were faking it right from the start. We didn't learn how to create a culture of safety in our relationship to have the real conversations. And so then here I am, maybe I have some feelings about how we're connecting, and I don't really trust you to handle your emotions. So I'm not going to tell you because you have a meeting next week and I don't want to hurt that meeting or your chances of whatever, right? So then I'm not sharing my truth and I don't trust you to handle your emotions. And so we're doing this weird little dance, and you're going to feel it just like as a kid you felt it when your parents weren't connected. You're going to feel it and you're going to create your own story about what it is. And now you're going to kind of withdraw your love just a little bit because something doesn't feel safe. And I'm going to feel you withdraw your love a little bit. And I'm like, oh yeah, for some reason, I don't feel safe, even less safe. So we keep playing this game of like slowly withdrawing ourselves, slowly putting the masks up even more. And we don't talk about it. And then we're screwed. It's just this downward spiral of we tolerate each other and we're going to stick it out until, or we're just like, we hit our breaking point. We're like, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, the string breaks type of thing. The tension's too much because you've both been backing away the whole time, and then twing, then it goes, and then it gets blown up, and then
exactly. And we were taught that getting help is a mark of shame, right? So the cone of shame I'm picturing on the dogs.
The dog.
But it's like, okay, well, what if you didn't wait until the word divorce or breakup was brought in? What if early on when you started feeling like, I don't feel safe to be myself, I don't feel like I can be free to be myself in this relationship, then what if that's when you called in somebody who could support you in this and you learned how to have these conversations where you both got to be safe? Like, that's the thing. It's not physical safety for most people. It's emotional safety, which they probably haven't, most of us don't really get to experience very often. Our nervous systems are not very regulated in today's modern culture. And we have lots of amazing tools to distract ourselves from big feelings like scrolling or shopping or alcohol or sex or you name it. We love to distract ourselves from having the big conversations.
Yeah.
So if we really were like, okay, it's okay to get help. Now when it's just, I'm noticing their little stories. I'm noticing I wish there was more. I'm noticing I wish I could just tell my partner this, but I don't think I can. If that's when we started learning how to do this and get support on it, so many more relationships would stay together. So many more.
Yeah, it's kind of just more about recognition, isn't it? Like knowing, understanding, and figuring out that you need to seek help type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's the same with anything, same with mental health as well. Like once you realise that like, I'm sadder than normal, like, you know, it's like reach out type of thing, I suppose. And it's the exact same thing. Once you start, those little seeds of doubt start to get planted, it's just be like, oh shit, maybe I should do something about these weeds before they grow into trees type of thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
And it's just looking for those friction points of like, either where am I feeling judged or where am I judging them, my partner? Where am I judging my partner?
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah, that's when you have that curiosity. Like, notice the judgment first. If you're feeling judged or you're judging them, this is your point to learn a new tool. You get curious and you're like, okay, I'm having this thing. Okay, how do we navigate this? Because that first judgment, it may feel like it's just my opinion. It's not your opinion. It's a judgment. Learn how to be with the judgments. And then from that place, all the juiciness and authenticity can come out. But if you don't learn how to do it, it's just going to seed resentment.
Yeah, no, it's a very heavy topic to talk about. One more thing I kind of want to touch on as well is, what do you think about someone who's been in a long-term relationship and then drops out of that relationship and then finds someone very quickly that like matches all their like or ticks all their boxes. Let's say, do you? I was going to say believe in love at first sight type of thing, but it's like I suppose it's that, if that makes sense. Like, can you get love bombed by someone and be like, wow, this person's everything that I want?
Yes,
yeah.
and. I mean, it's
and.
always complex,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
it depends on the people and their trauma backgrounds and their, you know,
so
and like
much stuff. It's not just
there's
a question.
so much. But I would say this: some things that I would be concerned about and curious about would be, okay, you just left a big relationship. Did you give yourself time to grieve? Did you give yourself time to really recover from that relationship and understand like how you grew and what you needed and what is different? If not, then I would just slow your roll a little bit and try to give yourself a little bit of space to grieve. And then when you're really ready and if this person is there and if they're your soulmate and you're meant to be with them, great. They're going to be there then.
Yeah.
If you tell them like, I want to make sure this isn't just I can't think of the term right now, but you know, like when you jump from one to the next person.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Dang it.
Yeah, I
it's
can't remember.
Tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyways, the rebound.
Yeah.
You want to make sure it's not the rebound, right?
Yeah.
So if you can just give yourself a little bit of time, do the healing, and then making sure they're not the rebound, you get to have these real conversations with them about, okay, this is what I learned. This is who I am. This is what I need. Let me make sure I'm not projecting all of the things I didn't get from here onto you.
Yeah.
Because that is a very real possibility.
Yeah, right.
We're always projecting. Whether or not we just left a long relationship that wasn't working or we just met somebody and we've been single for a while, well, we can be projecting on what the other person is to like, they must be amazing. They are amazing. I'm sure they're amazing.
Yeah.
And you guys are both going to have some traumas that you need to deal with, and you both are going to push on each other in certain ways, and you both need to learn how to do this together. And like, can you both commit to leaning in when things get hard? Because they will get hard. Relationships are, you know, if you look at what is one of the most intense things you could do to grow emotionally, spiritually on your path, like get into a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
And stay in it even when it's hard.
Yeah.
And I don't mean stay in a toxic relationship. That's no good.
Yeah.
Or an abusive relationship. Like, that's no good. But if it's just, hey, we push each other's buttons and it's not as passionate as it used to be, there might be some things worth looking at and learn after we learn the tools. And that's the tricky part. You have to learn the tools that actually work. So that's where I love science and I love research and I love somatics and being in the body. And I'm saying, if you actually go out and learn the tools that you were never taught and you apply them with whoever you're with now, or you learn them as when you're single so you can use them later on, and then you use them and the connection still isn't there. If that's happening, then we could look at maybe it's time to go through what I call a relation shift and shift into friendship or shift into acquaintances or whatever you need to shift into.
Yeah.
But you have to learn the tools first and use them before you think, okay.
Yeah, before you just start axing everything and like, you know,
Exactly.
the old guillotine thing, because it's just like, oh, she's not the one, axe. Oh, she's not the one, axe. You're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, aren't you?
Exactly. And you're attracting a different person, same situation, I'm guessing so many times because we're looking for the same wounds.
Yeah.
So you're not growing, you're not changing, you're just changing the human in front of you until you finally get tired and you're like, I guess I should be married by now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what it feels like as well.
Yeah.
Like, just people kind of just settling for each other or something. And that, I don't know, you can just kind of feel the tension between, like you said, that like the rope getting nice and tight and all that type of stuff. And, it's crazy. One thing I want to ask, this will probably be, we'll start to close it out after this, but how does someone recognize a toxic relationship? Like what are some key pointers for that? Because I feel like people are in toxic relationships and feel like they can't get out, or people don't even know what they are to begin with.
Yeah.
So, because I'm one of them, I got no idea what a toxic relationship looks like, because I kind of haven't been in one for long enough in the last few years to kind of really realize it.
Great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think toxic relationships can take many different forms, and we have to be careful. If you guys don't know how to fight and it's violent, if there's emotional abuse or physical abuse, this is, and I want to be careful because so we all repeat patterns and we all protect ourselves in many different ways. And a way I protect myself might be that I might withhold some information, or a way I protect myself might be that I try to take care of you when you're stressed or when we have some tension between us. That's still a way of protecting myself. Like, oh, let me just, Sam, what do you need? Right?
Yeah.
But that we all have different tools, and some people's way of protect themselves is going to come in the form of fight. And fight could be abusive in terms of, I'm going to attack you. I'm going to use my words. I'm going to use my hands. These symptoms, these ways of protecting ourselves are not okay. It's not okay to hurt. We tell our kids all the time, it's okay to be angry. It's not okay to let your anger hurt someone else. So if you're with somebody who's hurting you, I don't want to say that's a stop it right now. I'm going to say that's a, you need to have a very serious conversation about getting professional help.
Yeah.
Right. And then if that person is really willing to change and do the big work and make the shift, there's still so much possibility for relationships. And you're doing, most of the time, what happens in these dynamics is one person is more abusive and the other person is very enabling. So it's both of you that need to learn how to break the cycle. It's not just one, right?
Yeah. Relationships
really are like partner dancing. It's like tango. It's like if it takes two of you to really make the dance.
Yeah, gotcha.
And you're not alone in it. Now you may have called this in and be like, okay, I'm so used to my dad yelling that I'm going to attract a man who yells. But it doesn't mean that it's all on them. It's like, what are you doing to enable this behavior in him if that's there? Now, if the person who is, and it does not just men, women do it too, and it can be very abusive. But if you're with somebody who's doing that or abusing a substance, again, it's this, have this real conversation of, are we willing to look at it together as a couple and get professional help? And if not, we need to shift. If you feel like you're being gaslit, if you feel like you're a little bit like, something is not aligning. I feel like I'm going crazy. Like the things that they're saying to me versus what's really happening, just something isn't fitting repeatedly. This is a great time to get professional help and just say, or talk to your friends who know you. And also one quick side thing about friends, go to your friends who are there to represent both of you and cheerlead the relationship. We all have friends we go to who will badmouth our partners. Yeah. Right? We know exactly who to go to if we want to feel really good and feel like we are the heroes and they're the assholes, right? We know who to go to. But we want to go to our friends who can have the balanced approach and be like, this is what I know about your partner. This is what I know about you. I can have empathy for both of you. And I can say, what do you guys need as a couple? What does this relationship need? Those are the opinions I really want to call on because they're way more balanced and they're going to call me out on my BS because I'm doing stuff to lead into this relationship. So these are just some things to look for in a toxic relationship. Toxic, in most cases, I just want to say it's you're playing a part of this toxicity. So if you don't want it, figure out what you're doing, figure out how you can change, take accountability and responsibility. And if it feels like it's a dangerous situation, seriously look at leaving. And if it feels like it's a situation that is something that you want to change, great, get professional help to do so.
Nice. Well, I think we'll just leave it at that. But I know that you've got a couple of free courses as well that people can look at. I haven't looked at them myself, but I saw in your media deck. Yeah, exactly. Yet. Yes, I will have a look at them. But so I know if anyone wants to have a bit of a look or learn some skills, I definitely recommend that they go have a look at that.
There's so much stuff, you guys. Yeah. Check out my TEDx talk. It was really fun to be on stage. Yeah, I'll put all that in the comments and everything like that. Great. But, and if I can support anybody who's listening, just reach out. I'm on Instagram, and you'll have ways to contact me on my website. But we'd love to just help you all figure out the best ways to move forward with love and relationships.
Amazing. That was good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
No worries.
I do have one concern. Originally, you kind of make it because you want to talk about fear of commitment. I don't feel like we really went there.
No.
Is that a fear of going there?
yeah, probably. I think I went to go in there and then I said something about going back to commitment and then we got onto something and then it just flowed really well like into something else. So
if you decide you want to go there sometime, let me know.
Yeah, for sure.
We could either do it on here or just talk about it sometime.
Yeah. No, but for me, it was just like, I just get the fear of commitment is like that after that 3 or 4 month stage, like you said, when it comes out, I just assume, I think that's probably my problem, that when it gets past that stage. And then the other thing for me is like, it's probably super shallow, but I'm not where I want to be mentally or physically and in my business. So I've got these 3 factors of mine that are always in my mind. And it's not that I feel like sometimes if I'm not in the right place, I will attract the wrong person because what you put out is what you attract and it's almost essentially what you were saying. Like with you find something in your partner that's from your dad or your mum or whatever it is. So for me, it was like, I don't want to attract someone who's in the same spot as what I am right now, because I know that there's days that I feel like shit and blah,
That's
blah,
always
blah.
going to be there, though.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it was more like, if I can't go to the gym every day, or not every day, but like if I can't commit to go to the gym and I can't commit to my, to this or commit to that, how can I commit to someone else and give them my full attention and my full love when I can't even do it for myself?
Yeah.
So that was my biggest thing.
That's your masculine discipline coming through.
Yeah.
I love that. It's beautiful.
So, and I don't want to do it to hurt anyone else. I don't want to.
Of course not.
Yeah, I just want to do it for me as well, because I've had a pretty crazy mental health journey the last 4 or 5 years, and where there was points where I was like, my hands were sweating, like to put my shoes on to go to the supermarket, for God's sake. That was like 5 minutes down the road, and like I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy type of thing. So for me, yeah, I just don't want to project that onto anyone else, because I have had a relationship where we were both very anxious people and we were both in anxious spots. Yeah. And it was just like the whole time, and I was like, fuck, I just don't want to be someone's counselor anymore. I don't want her to be mine or me to be hers, or I don't want that. And I know I don't want that. So I think that might be where my little bit of a fear is, and I just need to commit to doing my things first to be able to commit to someone else.
Yeah. And I would just invite you to, when you have some downtime, to also look at what are the fears behind it. Because the challenge for a lot of guys especially is just that you may never feel like you're enough. And for most men carry the wound of I'm not enough, and most women carry the wound of I'm too much. Yeah, right. And so just being careful, like, what is the fear, what are you really afraid of behind that? And I hear some of that, like codependency and the anxious attachment happening, and right? And just looking back at what else is really there, especially from childhood, what does this remind you of? Yeah, okay. Right? Just start getting clear on that, because those fears might be have more power than you want them to have. Yeah. The intention you have is beautiful, but it might be more fear-driven than you need it to be. Yeah, I think it might be as well. Yeah. I'll just have to figure that out. I'll do your courses and I'll figure it out. If you ever want to have a session, just let me know. I'm happy to, cool. Yeah. No, that'd be unreal. Thanks very much. Appreciate that. Of course. I think we were still recording that whole time. So were we? We might even be able to just add that in somewhere. All right, cool. Happy Love days. It. We'll make sure we end it there. Then I keep running Sneaky. Yeah. I didn't think it. I saw him go to the camera, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, we're done. Let's start talking. I'll open up about my biggest fears." Oh, that was great. He's just like, ugh. I'm glad you kept it running. That was good. Yeah. I was like, "There's something still not closed here." Yeah, glad. I'm so glad that happened. No, that's awesome.